Hello. I'm just getting out threads for today. Whoop. Okay. I changed my mind a little. We're gonna do this donut before we move on. So I am going to get out some colors. So we've got the donut, the frosting, the decoration. Just need out every single color. Okay. So I thought while we're working on these, let's finish up this center and then we can kind of move our hoop around. So what we're gonna do is continue on with our chain stitch or reverse chain stitch. Today is gonna be your choice. So whichever one you liked better is what we're gonna do for the outline on the donut. I like reverse chain stitch, so that's what I'm gonna do. Actually, I might do, because we're gonna do the outside edge and the inner edge, so I think I'll do both in case you need a refresher. But I'm gonna start with reverse chain stitch on the outside. Okay? All right, here we go. So reverse chain stitch, we start with just one detached chain stitch and then move on from there. And I'm using 3 strands still, which will be pretty common through the whole hoop. So whatever you used for those is what we're gonna use again. So I'm using 3 strands. And then we're gonna tack that down and then work this way. I think I've got a knot back there. Oh, that is the knot. Try that again. All right. It's gonna be a day of knots. Okay. Should be good. We're doing 3 strands of this? Yes, 3 strands. Just, or whatever you used. If you used more or less on your cookies, then I would stick with whatever you used, just so it like stays consistent. So whatever you were doing, keep doing that. And then I would say whatever you need to practice or that you liked better is what you should use, so that you can, I don't know, have some fun a little. Just make sure if you're doing a reverse chain stitch that you're careful not to snag these stitches next to it. Yeah. I have been loving seeing your guys' hoops as you're working on them. I actually really love when people go like off what I've done, like do something a little bit differently. I think it's so fun. Okay, I'm gonna start weaving it this way under so that it's a little bit easier on this circle. Oh, that was a big stitch. we're on a circle, so we want to make sure these don't get too big because we want to make sure that this stays nice and circular. We are finally, I think, out of our like really cold weather. It's like 25 degrees now instead of like single digits, which we've been at for the last 2 days. Today, finally, I didn't feel like I had to wear a hat and gloves and coat. When I took the kids to school, I could just wear a coat. I was talking to a friend that lives in Southern California, and she was saying that it's cold to them when it's like 50 degrees. And I'm like, man, I don't even wear a coat sometimes. When it's 50 degrees, I just, like a sweater is more than enough. It's like nice spring weather. Different areas and how we feel about the weather. I actually really like the snow. Like, I wouldn't mind if we had more. So we're in northern Utah, and like just over the mountain, they have like 2 or 3 feet of snow. Ouch. Dang it. Pricked my finger. They've got like 2 or 3 feet of snow like on the ground right now. I have a friend that just posted a picture, and it's like as tall as her toddler. Well, let's see. We just don't get, we get snow and then it melts, and then we get more and it melts, and we haven't had enough to like enjoy it quite yet. All right, we're almost there. God, I keep poking myself with this needle. All right, I think 2 more. Okay, so since we're going in a circle, I'm going to go up in this same hole that I went down in to start it, to make sure that those are like really well connected. And then I'm going to go down in that same hole. Just end that there. Okay, now you can just pull your thread over here if you want. I don't like trailing thread, so I'm gonna tie mine off and then start again in the middle, because I know that that will bother me if I can see that thread from the front. Okay. So I'll do a chain stitch in this center one instead of the reverse chain stitch, just so you can have a little refresher. So I'm just tying a knot there. Okay. So this is a smaller circle, so I'm gonna do smaller stitches. Okay, so we're gonna go back down in that same spot. And come up. And then pull that snug. I'm definitely not as fast at chain stitch as I am at reverse chain stitch. It just takes me a little longer to like get it looking how I want it to. Since this is kind of moving in a circle, I also try to pull my thread, like when I'm pulling it up this way, I try and pull it in the direction that my stitches are moving to try and keep everything moving in the right direction. Does that make sense? Like if I pull it backwards, then my stitches won't lay the way I want them to. So I'm pulling them in the direction I want them to lay. One more. Okay, so I'm going to come up in this same hole so I can connect those. And then just tack that down. Now we've got a cute little donut. Okay, now let's learn a new stitch. Okay, I'm just gonna color this in a little bit. Okay. I'm gonna get my white out. And we are gonna do a stem stitch. So it looks similar to a whipped back stitch because it's kind of twisted. So it will look, oh, you know what I forgot? Color around this edge too. Okay. So it looks similar to a whipped back stitch because it kind of gives it like a twisted look like whipping it does, but it's just all at once instead of like doing a back stitch and then going back over it. Okay, so what we're gonna do is come up wherever we wanna start that. And we're gonna do just a little stitch like this. And then we're gonna hold our loop to the outer edge of our circle. We don't wanna hold it this way. We want it always on the outside ring. And then we're gonna come up in the middle of that stitch. And then pull backwards. And then we're gonna make another stitch. So this stitch length from here to here is gonna be the same as the middle to the middle of the next stitch. So we want all of our stitches to be the same length, but they're just gonna overlap each other. So we're gonna keep our loop at the top. Again, always keep it going the same way to the outer edge of the circle. And then come up in the middle. So the middle is where that first stitch ended. So we're gonna use that same hole and then pull it snug. I always pull this backwards because it helps lay your stitches a little bit smoother. And we'll just keep working like that. So keep our loop up at the top. We're gonna come up at the end of that last stitch, should be the middle, and then pull that snug. So this is one of my favorites for circular shapes, for stems on flowers. I mean, it's great for straight or round, but I especially like it for round shapes because I just think it looks really nice. As long as you're keeping that loop on the outer edge, it should lay flat, or at least fairly flat. The bigger you make your stitches, the less twisted they'll look, and the more like jagged this line will look. So keep these fairly close together. If you kind of look at this compared to down here, they look really similar. Whoop. And also, like if I pull it this way, like down towards my next stitch instead of backwards, it just, I feel like it doesn't lay quite as flat as it does. So I guess it also depends on what kind of look you're going for. If you don't mind it sticking up a little bit more, you can pull it whatever way you want. But I feel like it looks smoother if I pull it backwards. Which feels a little awkward in a hoop stand when I'm holding it in the hoop stand. But this is a great stitch for outlining. And if you like the look of a whipped back stitch, but you don't like the time it takes to do it, this is another good option. I'm doing these a little closer together than the brown and the white, a little closer together than I originally meant to, but that's all right. This center ring that I drew is going to be our like decorative frosting on our donuts. So in case you're confused about what I'm doing, I just didn't want to draw like 6 circles on here. So I am just freehanding this white. Because if I drew this outer edge, then I'd have to draw the inner edge. So I would add another 2 circles. Anyways, I just like my patterns to be a little or my transferred pattern onto my fabric a little bit cleaner. All right, we're almost there. And if you're not getting it like exactly in the exact same hole, it's not like a really big deal because it gets covered up. Put this thread always out on the outer edge of your circle. I mean, you can do it the other way, but it'll make your twist go the other way. Does that make sense? All right, so now when we make our last stitch, I'm gonna go down in the center, up at the top. And then I'm gonna go like up over the top. So instead of going down like right here, I'm gonna go up over the top to kind of keep that twisted look and end that there. Okay. So I'm gonna tie this off real quick and then we'll do the inner circle. So we're gonna do the inner circle the same way with a stem stitch. Okay. And same thing that we were talking about with the chain stitch. I would keep I would make your stitches just a little bit shorter on these smaller circles rather than I would just do a slightly smaller than you did on the outer, unless your outer one was already pretty small, just so you can keep that nice curve going. Come on. The smaller your stitches are, the more twisted your thread will be. Like the more like raised up and twisted your stitch will look. Oh, I bumped my camera there. Oh, it's still moving. I'm excited to add some more color. We've been working a lot with this brown and white. It'll be fun to add a little more color. These stitches are getting a little bit large. Size that back down a little. almost there. All right. Just gotta go down like that. Okay. There we go. All of our edges. All right. So let's pull out our green and start decorating our donuts. So what we're gonna do for the center is a threaded back stitch. So it's gonna be similar to our whipped back stitch, but just not quite the same. So first we're gonna back stitch it in the green, and then we'll use the pink to kind of decorate it a little bit more. So I'm using 3 strands of the 986, is that right? Mm-hmm. $8.95 is what it's supposed to be. What did I grab? I thought that sounded wrong. My pile is, well, it's very similar. I don't have $8.95 in my pile of threads for this. Weird. Okay, but the greens are very similar. You should have $8.95 if you're following the pattern. Okay, so we're going to backstitch this. We've done backstitch a couple of times. And we're practicing making these even stitches so that they're all the same length. You could actually probably make this a little bit thicker if you wanted to and use like 4 to 6 strands. If you want a little bit thicker. I feel like I really have to focus, like if I want my strands all, or if I want my stitches all the same length. Like it takes a lot out of me to like pay attention to making sure I keep them all the same. Otherwise I get going a little too fast and just start stitching whatever I want. It's a good habit to slow down a little and pay attention. Almost there. My cats are playing, whoops. What is this stitch called? Right now we're just doing a back stitch, but we're going to make it a threaded back stitch here in a minute. The cats are just running through my house, I'm sorry. Okay, this is a little bit long. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. I want it to be an odd amount, so I'm gonna make this 2 stitches. Since it was kind of an odd length. So, okay. Let me tie this off and then we can get out our pink. Okay, so I've got 3350. So I would say however many strands you use for the green, I would use the same for the pink. So since I did 3, I'm gonna do 3. But if you're doing yours a little bit thicker, like I would do like 6 and 6. Oh my goodness, cats. They just chase each other around. Okay, so here is the difference. This is very similar to a whipped back stitch, but we're gonna alternate the way we stitch. So we're gonna come up at one of our stitches. It doesn't matter where, just come up. Pulled up some of that green with it, that's fun. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna weave this way. And then when we go under the next one, we're gonna go the opposite way. So we're gonna go towards the center instead of to the outside. We have a lot of stitches around this, so go slowly. I wanna do 2 colors so that you could see. We'll go every other one, so you'll be able to see that difference. See, so we go this way, that way, like an S. It's really hard to weave with my left hand. And this one is really just about working slowly so you're not snagging other stitches. I would also, if you want that to be like a little bit more loopy, don't pull your thread too tight. So then it'll stay out and nice and curvy. This one is fun with 1 color as well, but I think it's more fun with 2 because then you can kind of see, especially like 2 like opposite colors. But we're just going every other side. What do we think? Fun? This one is slow. And don't forget that you can use your fingers in the back to kind of push up. I push up where my needle is going under so that it can go like up over top of these threads so it doesn't like catch on anything. Makes it a little bit easier. To not snag things around it. Okay, then we're gonna go down where we came up. There we go. Make that loop just a little. There we go. That's fun. Okay, now we can go back and mess with it a little bit if we want to. So fun. Okay. So I'm gonna tie that off. Now when you're tying it off, I would kind of hold on to the front to make sure that you're not like gonna pull that last stitch too tight. Where we want to keep that kind of loose. Just make sure you're not like pulling it tight and losing that cute little loop you made. Okay. So one more thing we're gonna do on here is we're gonna practice some more French knots. This time I'm gonna use less strands. So what did we do here? I'm pretty sure it was 3. 1, 2, 3, yeah. So I'm gonna use 2 strands this time. Just because. Just to kind of practice French knots using different amounts of threads. Okay, so I'm going to change my pinks, so I'm using the 776 now. And add some little sprinkles. So when we were doing this dots on our heart cookie on day 1, we were doing 3 strands with 2 wraps. So I'm gonna make itty bitty sprinkles, and I'm just gonna do 2 strands wrapped 1 time. And I'm just gonna do them randomly. Okay, so we're gonna do them the same. We're gonna hold our fabric out to the side. We're gonna wrap it 1 time, and then we're gonna go back down in a different hole. We're not sharing a hole when we do French knots. Pull our knot to the bottom and then pull our thread through. And there we go. Cute little sprinkle. We're coming up, pulling it to the side, wrapping 1 time, back down in a different hole. Do these ones a little bit closer together. So you could definitely do more French knots if you wanted. Like really sprinkle it up. There we go. I'm just gonna do a few. But feel free to put more sprinkles on there if you want, or no sprinkles. But that is it for me today. Cute little donut with some fun decoration. Anyways, that is it for me today. Let me know if you have questions. And I will see you tomorrow. I want to say we're going to do the macarons, but we will see. We'll see what happens in the morning. All right, I will talk to you later. Bye.